keep my phone on silent.
You may start now.
Okay. Very good afternoon. Eminent members of the forum and my dear colleagues and the galaxy of educationists from far and near. This is Dr. Mayuri Dutt from Kolkata, India, a passionate educationist involved in academics by chance, merely at the age of 16 plus. The first time I was invited as a rhymes teacher in my local school 40 years back, and that's how I started my journey by chance as an education. My first attempt as a rhymes teacher was such a wonderful experience that I invaded into the field of education instead of going in by becoming a medical doctor. My journey started 40 years back, gave me all kinds of inspiration to excel myself in the field of education, not for the juniors or senior level, but specifically for the early education, for the early child care development. With time, I became the principal of Parasat Indira Gandhi School in Kolkata, and then I stepped down from there in 2018 to become a science communicator. Presently, I'm working with Department of Science and Technology, looking after the various projects, namely as a national coordinator for Vidyarthi Vigyan Manthan, which is from Ministry of Department of Science and Technology. I also look after various programs by coordinating and conducting Guinness World Record. I have been traveling all across the country by meeting people from different schools, teachers, and others. And with time, I have learned and unlearned a lot of things. And that's why I just came up with today's session for sharing all what I have gathered within the period of 20 minutes, which seems too less, but I would try my level best to cover the maximum. I'm really grateful and fortunate and feel very happy to get associated with ECDF, the Early Child Development Forum. And I am really grateful to Madam Vashvi for giving me the opportunity to deliver my talk today in the forum. Let's start with our presentation. My presentation is all about early childhood education, which talks about learn, play, and grow. When we go to our next slide, we talk about what is the role of leadership in early childhood education. In my next slide, we will tell that there is a Chinese proverb which talks about learning is like rowing upstream, not to advance, to drop back. This is a Chinese proverb which is there in my next slide. When we talk about professionalism in early childhood education, we need to think that what it actually specifies. Why is it so that the early childhood education should be given more importance than the middle school, primary school, or the secondary school? The reason is when we teach children how to develop the skills of writing in a particular manner, that helps us to let them know things at the age. We all know that the mind and brain of the child grows till the level of age 7. So whatever we actually train the children with at that age, it helps them to keep it in their memory till they grow. When we go to our next slide, which talks about today's agenda. In our today's agenda, we are going to talk about understanding what makes an early childhood education program developmentally appropriate and what must early childhood educators know. Now you tell me, my dear friends who are here listening, seeing, or hearing this particular program, that Can anyone of you tell that why is it so that we feel that anyone can teach to young children? Why is it so that we have this feeling anyone and everyone is capable of handling small children from the age of 2 onwards? If you think seriously and sincerely, I believe that I will get more of true as an answer than false. We need to get the correct answer, and I would request all of you to think about these when you sit on your own tables and brainstorm among your people who talk about early education as a very small aspect of life. Please put, you can just post your reasons to the organization so that we get some kind of guideline from you that what is your opinion about anyone can teach young children. What is a developmentally appropriate program? When we talk about early childhood education, we need to think about making a proper program which is age appropriate, individually appropriate, and socially and culturally appropriate. That is what I talk about in my next slide. We all have our own opinion when we talk about age appropriate work. When we make a group of children of, say, they are 4 years old together, sitting together, we will find a difference between those 4 year olds when we talk about the exact appropriate age. As a psychologist, I have found a child who is 3 months younger to his friend has a different development abilities. So when we talk about age appropriate, I prefer, I request, I suggest that the teachers who are involved with ECDF or those who are early childhood educators, they need to plan their lesson plan according to age appropriate of the child in their respective class, individually appropriate because that is where we lack when we prepare the lesson plan for the children. I talk about the other countries wherein we have seen that the children who are of 2 years, 6 months are all kept together as 2 years, 6 months old. And there they don't let children who are elder by 30, 40, 80, or 90 days mingle with them because in Western country they believe that every day a child picks up something gradually when they grow old. So when we talk about individual appropriate, we then go to socially and culturally appropriate also because it is said that nature and nurturing are the two major concepts and aspects in the growth of a child. Next slide, please. Now, when we go forward, we must know that as early child educators, what are the basic domain of knowledge we need to have and we need to know. So if I talk about the domain of knowledge, we need to tell our people, the teachers, educators who are involved in helping the children to go in the respective organization, that they should help preparing the lesson plan, which will elaborate the knowledge of each child and help them to development while learning. When we talk about content knowledge, that is also an important area when we have to think while arranging, organizing, or prepare a lesson plan. The knowledge of effective teaching strategy is actually required when a teacher walks into the respective classroom because we know that the children come for a limited period of time. And if we go inside a classroom and we think about what should we do today, how should we do today, that actually kills the time of the students, which we can never return back. So my request to the faculty and the teachers community is always be prepared, think before walking into your respective classroom because we need to know what is early childhood development is. May we go to the next slide, please, ma'am? The early childhood development is talking about holistic, aesthetic, affective, cognitive, language, physical, and social. If we talk about these areas, and go back to what NEP 2020 says, these are the areas which is really rightly have been given more importance in the first 5 years of learning for the children. We need to remember that according to NEP 2020, the first 5 years of learning is given importance, and that means the children who are 2 years old, they will be learning in nursery class, and there will be a 5 years of the concept of schooling for the junior children. Now, as we take the children's education, their professional thinking through the professionalism of an educator, we go to the next slide of talking about the sequential aspect. Now, as a teacher, if I ask you that please put these milestones in order, like if we ask a child, what is the thing which really disturbs them, whether it's a fear of ghosts, fear of animals, fear of being embarrassed in front of others, or strangers, anxiety, the children will definitely come with a different kind of a feelings in a group of 40. So it is the duty of the teacher to know each and every child while they are giving them their training or while they are nurturing them in the first 5 years of the education which they are taking from the respective schools. Everything varies in rate within and among the children. So if we know our each child, we will be able to take care of it. Next slide. Now, how children are learning, whether they are active, whether they're influenced by maturity, whether they are talking about the environment, which is also an important part of the child, whether they are influenced by the combination of physical experience, social interaction, and reflections, or they are basically being treated by promoting the education system by games and plays. So when we go to the next slide, we talk about some of the best practices in teaching young children. And what are these best practices? We go to the next slide and we find that the importance of sensory engagement is very much needed when we are going to teach young children from the age of 2 plus. The first experience should be always the best for these children who are going to get the knowledge, the first ever knowledge about education in the respective schools. First, an experience should precede a representational or more abstract experiences. So that is why there are so many Montessori devices, equipments, and tools the primary Montessori schools are supposed to keep, so that each child is tested through various devices, equipments, and things in that respective class. Models are more concrete than pictures, so pictures are more concrete than words. So when we are going to teach the children, we need to make sure that there is a reflect, that we make models, we make projects, we bring children together to mingle with everything and anything so that they get a feel, the emotional thing and experiential learning while doing the work. Now we need to plan activities so that sensory engagements occurs early in the process rather than in later. Now, if we talk about what is the philosophy of early childhood education, which is my topic today, we go to that slide now. So what is a philosophy of early childhood education? A self-reflective statement of our beliefs about teaching and learning for young children. Now, in addition to general comments, our teaching philosophy should discuss how we put our beliefs into practice by including concrete examples of what we do in the class or anticipate doing in the classroom. And here we introduce early childhood. Early childhood education is the formal teaching and care of young children. I choose this career because I love little kids and I love to be around them all the time. What about you? Why have you chosen this career? Is it by chance or is it by choice? Because we believe those who choose this career by choice are real teachers, real educators, real mothers, the second mothers, to these young toddlers who come from the arms of the mothers to a school where that is the place where they are kept without the family for the first time. I really appreciate the concept of Singapore, Finland, Sweden, wherein even the parents at times are allowed to sit in the classroom with the children to have a feel that how teachers are teaching. Now, what is early childhood? If we go to that slide, we talk about the age specification. What is early childhood? Early childhood is about children from the age of 2 to 6 years. It's a critical period in the development of the human potential. It is a period of development of various initiatives. It is also referred to as preschool age. For us, early childhood education program focuses on the growth and development of young children, infant through 8 years, with an emphasis on healthy adult-childhood relationship. But as per NEP 2020, there is a specification now, and we need to put in focus to that specification. Now, according to this early childhood, if we go to the priorities for curriculum development, we have various skills we need to talk about. And what we know about the young children if we are not aware of the various skills. Now, if we talk about the next slide, here we talk about four areas, that is physical, cognitive, social, and affective. Now, in cognitive, it always includes the linguistic because that is what we need to focus upon when you're talking about cognitive skills. But when we talk about effective and social skills, in social, it's always the morals we need to make children understand. And if we talk about effective, we have to make sure that children are also creative, making them have some physical exercise and making them learn various aspects of education through games, dance, plays, enact, and poetry. That is also a very good aspect. And in NEP, art integrated learning and story integrated learning are also given importance in addition to sports integrated learning. I remember as a principal, we are now asking students to create some, you can say, pose talking about geometrical, you can say, measurement, talking about what is maths and how can we count the numbers. So there are few new systems which have been in practice in India last 2 years after CBSE has introduced it, wherein the same kind of education has been there in US and other countries which started from Kennedy Center, wherein they wanted to know how we can incorporate arts as a subject by teaching children. If we talk about India, Rabindranath Tagore had started this concept way back in the 18th when he has established an institute like Shanti Niketan. So we need to think about how we can prioritize the curriculum and make children understand in a different, various manner. If we come to effectiveness of early education, you can say development, then in effective, we will have to think of the whole beginning understanding of the feelings for the children. We need to learn to accept, express, release, control them. We need to sense about their self-esteem and individuality. Now we have to be self-motivated and we have to make them independent in learning and knowing the concept. We need to make sure that we give opportunity to each child to show their creativity and innovation. And the maximum, the thing which we really should have is patience to deal with them and teach patience to children to complete their task. When we talk about linguistic, we go to the next slide, to the linguistic part. It needs foundation of literacy, not literacy itself. It needs opportunities for self-expression and it needs listening and speaking skills. It also needs print and communication, rich enrichment, because when we ask a child to write A, we need to start with the proper scientific manner by just teaching them how to draw lines first. So the gradual concept of teaching children to write alphabets, we have to be very careful. And that is what is missing by early education is imparted to students in schools, which are high schools or plus two schools, wherein these smaller children miss the opportunity of having scientific, age appropriate teaching. Instead, it is just class appropriate teaching. When we talk about cognitive, it needs concentrateness, attention span. It must construct own learning, should be pre-logical, and it should have a thinking and imagination in our cognitive skills. Social is the most important area which early educators, means those who are into this area, should impart among our children. Because nowadays we do have nuclear families where social interaction is limited to only immediate family. Children know their parents or the ayahs or nurses or the maids who are looking after them. They seldom get opportunity to mingle with their own families like cousins, grandparents, and others. So we need to make sure that the social aspect is taken care of and it's introduced in a very, very nominal way so that the children really would get it into their heart and would make sure that that remains forever. They should not be egocentric. Our main job to train the children at a very early ages to make them basically not egocentric. They should have morals. They should belong to part of a modern community. They should have healthy set of values. They should know what is hygiene. They should appreciate all the diversity, because herein it so happens that parents do not teach children how to appreciate and how to demand. Yeah, we have more demanding children than the ones who feel that whatever the parents is doing, parents are doing correct thing to them. And we need to make small groups so that they learn to benefit, they learn sharing, they learn caring, and then they will also learn to play with their friends with the toys and other things which they bring from their home. When we go to our next slide, which is talking about physical aspect of learning and teaching children, it talks about difficulties of sitting for a long period. We know what harm pandemic has done to our children. As in today's age, the children who are in class 1 are not having a knowledge of writing any sentence on their own. They are now presently being spoon fed by their respective class teachers and school teachers. The main loss during pandemic is a child is not sitting for a certain period of time in their respective seats in their classroom. Today, teachers are really getting annoyed and frustrated. The second thing is that as per age, the level of speaking the words increases, and that is missing because children could not communicate with their friends. They could not have a social life in last 18 months, so they have actually basically loss of words. Mindfulness is missing. So we need to make sure that we start giving that kind of a training to children right now to sit for long periods. We need to now take care of their fine motor skills, eye-hand coordination, which was just developing, and there was no connection during this period. So this lost period has to be regained, and we need to make sure the children get them back. They also need multi-sensorial learning skills for which teachers should be advised to use all kinds of equipments they are provided in the respective classroom. It should not be kept for decoration or arranging them during or before meetings. It should be used fully so that children will also be able to have those kind of skills gradually increasing day into time. Now, when we talk about nature of work a child should be taught or given, at the age of early childhood, which is actually defined as from 2 years to 6 years. So, in my slide of nature of work, I talk about playing outdoors games with the little kids, indoor doing crafts, and eating snacks, which helps them to know about sharing and caring. Now we need to have lessons planned wherein we can always talk to the children, ask, do the recapitulation, and based on what they have actually picked up, we can move forward by planning a monthly planner instead of going in for term planner or an yearly planner. Now, when we plan our lessons, we have to say which are the basic lessons we are going to teach them, which will be interactive lessons, which will be teaching them literacy. So, all kind of lessons to be defined, and appropriate time is to be allotted so that we teach them time management also while they grow in the hands of early childhood trainers. Now we know that characteristic of early childhood is very, very different and it is defined by people in a different manner. If we say to about parents, the most parents consider early childhood as a problem age. It's a troublesome age. He disturbs me, doesn't let me sleep, asks for many things, he is always crying, and all this and whatnot. Parents also often refer to early childhood age as a toy age, that we sometimes make children our toys and we pamper them as we would have pampered our toys. But in our concept, we personally believe that it should not be considered as a toy age or as a troublesome age. This has to be bought as an age which really basically teach children to grow in a very scientific and in a proper manner. So in the end, I would like to say a few things to you that what is the objective of being early childhood trainer. What reflects here is what it means to be a professional staff member. When we join any institute, any industry, any kind of job we take over, we have to remember that if we take it to our heart and if we consider this as our home, in some cases there are problems. So we need to think to become a professional trainer, a professional staff member, give what is deserving, don't give what is not required, which will help us even to save our own time and feelings. Now we would like to convey this to all of you as objective, that is, we have to describe the practices that are associated with professionalism. For this, if so desire, you all can go in for various management courses happening all across the country. There was time in the management courses, it was taught that we should keep a barrier between the employer and the employees. We should talk limited. But today's scenario of professionalism has totally changed. We need to be connected. We need to know each other's feelings and what is happening, because if we don't know each other, we will not be able to survive together. Now, we need to describe the significance of professionalism when working with children and family. So, the significance from my aspect is this, that when a child is admitted, as a rule, there is an interview. Now, in an interview, what we talk about, what are you doing, how this is, or sometimes we don't talk much. But while the child is with us, we need to know all about the family. I remember a day as a principal, I found a child who had come to school in his board examination. He joined in, and after half an hour, the boy said, I'm unable to write, ma'am. I will not complete this exam. The boy was a first class student in our school. He was a first ranker. I simply asked him, what happened? Why are you not able to write? And then he started crying. And he said, when I came out of my house, I found my father had suffered with a heart attack, and I don't know what's happening to me. So I cannot concentrate in my exam. And believe me, within 10 minutes, we got the information that his father is no more. So that particular incident taught me that we need to have a feeling for each child coming to our school. We don't know from what kind of a home, what kind of an atmosphere they're coming to the school and joining us. So, my dear, we need to keep these few facts of life in our, you can say, everyday living. And remember, these stories teaches us a lot. APJ Abdul Kalam always said that don't discuss with people what you have achieved, but what you could not discuss those. Failure will help you to grow more. So I have few questions in my next slide. My question number one talks about that an important aspect of your work as a direct care staff member are the relationship you create with children, youth, families, and co-workers. What do you consider this? Do you think it is true or do you think it is false? I don't want the answer, but I would say that we need to rethink and decide how we need to become early childhood education. In my next question, I had put this in your first year of teaching, you usually feel completely confident, and the, the answers which you have to tick is capable of managing all day to day responsibility, or begin to ask more complex questions about your practices, or you will probably become interested in new care development in the fields of early care, or it is education and may benefit from joining as many professional organizations as possible. Means initially you will join this program and then you start mumbling that no, I've taken up the wrong profession, I've taken the wrong role, I should not be doing this, I should not be knowing about others. So this is one question I have put for you. And the last question it talks about which of the following practices reflects professionalism in your work as a staff member. Where in my question number three, I talk about providing a variety of developmentally appropriate choices and experience, keeping information about children's, youth, and families confidential, acknowledging diversity and individual differences in growth, background, beliefs, and values, or you say all of these. So these were the three questions I had put in to discuss with my audiences, and the questions are here in front of you. Answers are all yours, and if you have given wrong answers, you are the one who has to judge it and then regain your self confidence to be better. What do we expect to do is my next slide, which talks that in the field of early childhood education, professionalism encompasses many specific behaviors and skills that address how individuals present themselves to other adults. Take time to review the knowing traits identified by Gigi Swallow in 2012 as they contribute to professionalism in the field of early care and education. Now, you have to think about how you present yourself to others through your appearance and communication. Believe me, I always believe that an early childhood educator should be well dressed, She should look the most beautiful so that the children have a bright feeling for their respective class teacher, the teacher who's going to mingle with them. So your appearance counts if you are an early childhood educator. You need to have a knowledge of about early care and education before you join as a teacher to a very small classes like nursery, playgroup, lower KG or upper KG. The quality of your work should be excellent. There should not be a compromise in a quality of work because that sends the correct message for the parents. Now we need to have a very good relationship with our co-teachers and everyone because your anger, your reaction, your feelings, your you can say expressions are countable in front of these 2 years old, 3 years old, and 4 years old. If you are getting annoyed, if you're talking to anyone in anger, those things hurt the children, small children, and sometimes they either not disclose or either they disclose to many people like this. And I remember the children used to come to my room when I was officiating as a principal that, ma'am, today, my teacher is not putting a bindi. She used to put every day. Why don't you ask her why she's not put the bindi? So these are the small things and small unique, you can say, experiences I have gained where children really think about each and everything of their role model, that is their second mother in the school, teacher. We need to have a proper work ethics. That's very, very important. If we don't, we will not be able to grow ourselves, and we will not be able to nurture those small children which comes like a dough of clay in our hands to mold them as proper citizens for tomorrow. We need to have determination and dedication. I really, actually, I believe in determination and dedication. And if you have that, you will yourself grow, and you will actually grow everyone which is beside you as the best seed thrown in the field. Most important, you need to have a proper attitude. If we don't have a proper attitude, we are not able to do anything in life. So that attitude is very important. So preschool professionalism, developing your sense of professionalism is all what we are talking about in this program today. And in my next slide, I tell you that what we have to see, it is important to think about our own sense of professionalism, then learning from others. In my next slide, I am talking about the education today. In this particular slide, you can see that a child's education is now bought by money. Is that correct? Everything is available by paying money. You want a PhD degree, you want a doctorate degree, if you want admission in engineering, if you want an admission in a very renowned play school, everything is purchased by money. I personally feel this is the worst things which is happening, especially in our country, which is India. And these policies can only be corrected by teachers like you, who will dedicate and have determination to move further and bring proper education to children instead of making parents think of buying a certificate or buying education for the children. In my next slide, I talk about the top skills and qualities needed to become a great educator. While working in early childhood education, we need to involve lots of fun and caring. We need to make sure that we engage children and make them happy every moment and second they are with us during the time allotted to them for schooling. We need to go beyond our limits to play with the children, like in the sand pit. We need to create critical thinking prospects for children so that they have that ability to think out of the comfort zone. We need to have empathy to hear each child. We need to create stability for children, and we need to have growth mindset. We all know that there are two kinds of a mindset which we are having. One is known as fixed mindset, and the other is growth. So if we make children have a fixed mindset that this is this, it cannot change, then I don't think so. When they grow up, they will be able to create a growth mindset. So our appeal to all is that we always should make sure that we also have a growth mindset, and equally we prepare our children with a growth mindset. And then reflectiveness is also an essential part in teaching and learning of the children. Now there, herein we have, I just prepared a next slide which talks about teach for learning. In this slide, you can see a face of a person, which is, there is a brain here, and how the brain link, that is all about, it's talking all about that. So we have just identified two aspects which are more important, and there are aspects which are not important. Now, learning is thinking, which can be linked with prior learning. Why doesn't this link? And it is a rework which talks about you can draw a picture and summarize it. If we go to apply things to the children, it talks about solve a problem using how does this help you with. And retrieval is, we call it recapitulation, wherein we can quiz them, we can ask them, re-question them, and take up what is being or actually informed to them during the period of their learning. And then we can rank them in that order. We are all aware that in educating small children, we should not be making a hue and cry of talking to them as creating an examination. It should always be an assessment that we are assessing you. There should not be marks when we are evaluating small children. There should be motive or small remarks like always, sometimes, never, good, very good, excellent. instead of giving 100%, 99, 98, 97 in others, because that is not an appropriate way of evaluating the student. When we go to the next slide, I talk about my main topic, what is professionalism in early childhood. And as an educator, I come to this conclusion that an ECE professional must exhibit the ethical behavior. This means having high moral and value standards, as well as being legally and ethically proper. The ECE professional must be guided by the NAEYC Code of Ethical Conduct. We need to remember there is a code of ethical conduct, and we need to get ourselves guided, and we should have that ethical code of conduct knowledge to become an ECE educator. And this has to be a practice. We must possess civility and courteousness towards others so that we can be proved to be the best educators of the world. And we are actually training and preparing the children, and that's all I would believe. So when we talk about values, it is human dignity, fairness, and we can say scientific information and accountability. And if I talk about the early childhood education and care, there should be a basic cultural right. With this, I end my today's presentation, wherein I have delivered what I have learned during this period of my learning of last 40 years in the education system. I'm not an early childhood trained trainer to speak on this subject. This is all what I have learned and have created my own professional aspects, you can say religiously, and I'm now placing in front of you. Thank you very much. God bless you. Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I finished it.
Okay, yeah. There was some technical glitch, so I just got offline for a few seconds.
I know, I saw that.
Yeah. There was some problem. Thank you for the session,
Even
ma'am.
I don't know how it was.
Sorry?
I said I don't know how it was. I'm trying my level best to be at
But
par
ma'am,
with you all.
I think, yeah, it was a bit a long session, but it was okay. It was good.
Yeah, we started at 2:35, no?
Yeah. We started at 2:35.
So I said 40 minutes actually, day one only.
Yeah. It's okay, ma'am.
But luckily I reduced 10 of my slides today.